Day trader versus swing trader versus index investor. After 10 years, only one person won. 3 men, same starting point, same $10,000, same 10 years. One becomes wealthy. One breaks even after a decade of stress. One loses almost everything and never talks about it. Today, we're going to follow all 3 of them, month by month, year by year, through the wins and the losses, and the moments where each one genuinely believed he had it figured out. And at the end, we're going to look at the real numbers, not the cherry-picked screenshots, not the highlight reel, the actual, honest, unfiltered math of what each strategy produced over a decade. No opinions, no bias, just numbers. Because here's what I've learned after studying how ordinary people actually build wealth versus how they think they build wealth. The strategy that feels the most exciting almost never wins. The strategy that feels the most boring almost always does. But don't take my word for it. Let the math show you. Meet the 3 men. Let's set the scene. The year is 2014. 3 men, same age, same income, same starting capital. Each decide to do something with $10,000. They've all heard the same thing. Invest your money, make it work for you. Don't let it sit in a savings account, losing value to inflation. They all agree on that part. Where they disagree is how. Man 1, Marcus, the day trader. Marcus is sharp, analytical, competitive by nature. He spent 3 months watching YouTube tutorials, reading trading forums, paper trading on a simulator. He's convinced he sees patterns other people miss. He opens a brokerage account, deposits his $10,000, sets up his charts, moving averages, RSI indicators, volume profiles, gets his level 2 quotes running. Marcus is going to trade every single day. Buy in the morning, capture the move, sell before close, repeat. He's not greedy. He just tells himself he needs 1% a day. Just 1%, that's all. If you do the math on 1% a day compounded, it becomes an almost absurd number. Marcus has done that math. It's part of what convinced him. What Marcus hasn't fully accounted for yet are commissions, spreads, taxes, the psychological weight of watching a position move against you in real time, and the small detail that 1% a day consistently is something that essentially nobody in the history of financial markets has ever actually achieved long-term. But it's 2014. Marcus is optimistic. Marcus is starting. Man 2, Derek, the swing trader. Derek is more patient than Marcus, more methodical. He's read several books on technical analysis. He understands support and resistance levels. He knows how to read a weekly chart. His plan is different. He's not going to trade every day. He's going to find high probability setups, stocks or ETFs showing clear momentum, hold them for days to weeks, capture larger moves, and step aside when the setup isn't there. He figures less trades means less fees, less stress, more selectivity, better results. Derek deposits his $10,000, sets his alerts, prepares his watch list. He's going to be disciplined. He's going to follow his rules. He's going to treat this like a business. Derek is smarter about this than Marcus in several genuine ways. His approach has real logic behind it, but Derek has his own blind spots, ones that won't reveal themselves until the market has had a few years to find them. Man 3, James, the index investor. James is the one his friends find the least interesting at dinner. His strategy takes about 45 minutes to set up and then essentially nothing after that. He opens a Roth IRA, deposits his $10,000 into a single S&P 500 index fund, sets up an automatic monthly contribution of $300, turns on dividend reinvestment. Then he closes the app. No charts, no indicators, no watch list going off on his phone during meetings. James is boring. James knows he's boring. James is completely unbothered by being boring because James has read one thing that Marcus and Derek haven't fully internalized yet: the evidence. Decades of real market data showing what active trading actually produces versus what passive index investing actually produces for ordinary people over long periods. James has read that evidence. He believes it, and he's built his entire strategy around it. 3 men, 3 strategies. The clock starts now. Years 1 and 2. The honeymoon phase. The first few months are electric. Marcus has beginner's luck, which is one of the most dangerous things that can happen to a new trader. He catches a momentum move in a tech stock in his second week, turns $800 into $1,400 in 4 days. He tells his friends. They're impressed. He's impressed with himself. By month 4, his account is up 23%. He's beating the market handily. He starts increasing his position sizes. The confidence is real. Then August arrives, a sudden market sell-off. Marcus is holding a position he was sure about. It gaps down overnight, something his simulator never prepared him for because simulators don't have 2 a.m. anxiety attacks. He holds. It goes lower. He sells at a loss bigger than any single win he's had. He recalibrates, tightens his rules, gets back to work. By end of year 1, Marcus is up 11% on his original $10,000. Account sits at $11,100. Not bad. He's beating a lot of people he knows. What he doesn't account for in that celebration are the short-term capital gains taxes on every profitable trade. His actual after-tax return is closer to 7%, and he spent approximately 1,200 hours actively trading this year. Derek, year 1. Derek's first year is steadier than Marcus. He takes 34 trades total, less than 3 per month. He wins 18, loses 16. His winners are slightly bigger than his losers, which is exactly what the textbooks say good swing trading looks like. By end of year 1, Derek is up 14% gross. After commissions and taxes, closer to 9%. He's pleased. His system is working. The discipline is holding. Derek spent approximately 400 hours on research, charting, and trade management this year. James, year 1. James checks his account 4 times in the entire year. The market has a decent year. His index fund is up 13.5%. His $10,000 plus $3,600 in contributions has grown to $15,318. James spent approximately 3 hours on his investments this year. 3 hours total. Year 2, the first real test. 2015 brings volatility, real volatility. The kind that separates traders who have a genuine edge from traders who had a good run in a favorable market. Marcus has his worst month ever in August 2015 when the market drops 11% in a matter of days. His leverage position, he started using a small amount of margin, gets hit hard. He loses $2,300 in 6 trading days. He recovers partially by year end. He's still optimistic, still refining his system, still convinced the edge is there. Derek weathers the volatility better. His longer holding periods mean he's not reacting to every intraday spike. He closes year 2 with his account at $12,900, up solidly. James, his account drops 14% in the August correction along with the whole market. He watches it happen, does exactly nothing. By December, the market has recovered most of the loss. James ends year 2 with $18,200, including contributions, up meaningfully from where he started. Years 3 through 5, where reality sets in. This is the phase where the 3 strategies start revealing their true nature. Marcus, the grind begins. Year 3 starts well. Marcus has refined his system. He's cut his losing trades faster. He's more selective. But something else is happening that he doesn't fully recognize yet. The psychological cost of day trading is accumulating. Every morning he wakes up and the market owns his mood before he's had coffee. A bad open means a bad day. A losing streak means a bad week. The stress has moved from his trading screen into his sleep, his relationships, his general emotional state. His wife notices. He notices her noticing. By end of year 3, Marcus has his best year yet. Account hits $13,400. He's genuinely excited. Year 4 is when it starts unraveling. Marcus makes a mistake every experienced trader makes eventually. He breaks his own rules during a trade that feels different. Holds a losing position too long because he's certain it will recover. It doesn't. He loses $3,100 in a single trade, his single worst moment. He recovers discipline, rebuilds, but the year ends with his account at $11,200. 2 steps forward, 1.5 steps back. Year 5, Marcus is tired. Not financially destroyed, just tired in a way he didn't anticipate when he started. The screen time, the missed family moments, the constant mental load of positions, setups, earnings dates, Fed announcements. He's still trading, still improving technically. Account ends year 5 at $14,100. After 5 years, Marcus has $14,100 on his original $10,000, a 41% gain over 5 years, before taxes. After accounting for short-term capital gains taxes on profitable trades every year, his real after-tax account value is closer to $12,400, and he spent approximately 6,000 hours actively trading over those 5 years. Derek, the swing trader's honest reckoning. Derek has fared better than Marcus in almost every measurable way. Less screen time, less stress, cleaner tax situation since some of his holds qualify for long-term capital gains treatment. But year 4 reveals Derek's core vulnerability. He misses a massive move in a sector he wasn't watching, a 40% run in 6 weeks that his system would have caught if he'd been looking at the right charts. More painfully, he's in a trade on the wrong side of that same sector. Small loss, but the combination of missing the gain and taking the loss in the same month creates a psychological wound. Derek starts second-guessing his system, adds new indicators, changes his entry rules. The system that had been working, he makes it more complicated trying to fix something that wasn't quite broken. Performance suffers immediately when the system gets complicated. Year 5 ends with Derek's account at $16,000 $12,800. On his original $10,000, he has grown it by $12,800. 128% return over 5 years. Sounds decent until you do the comparison. His after-tax real return accounting for 10 years of short-term capital gains taxes, closer to $19,500. And Marcus spent approximately 10,000 hours actively managing and trading over the decade. James, 5 years of doing almost nothing. James adds his $300 every month, reinvests his dividends automatically, checks his account quarterly. The market has 2 significant corrections during these 5 years. Both times, James watches his account value drop. Both times, he does nothing. His friends think he's either naive or not paying attention. He's paying attention. He's just choosing not to react. End of year 5, James has contributed a total of $28,000, including his initial $10,000. His account balance sits at $38,400. The market added over $10,000 he never personally earned or worked for. James has spent approximately 15 hours on his investments over 5 years. 15 hours total. Years 6 through 10, the compounding machine turns on. This is the section where the story stops being close. Marcus, the painful realization. Year 6 brings something Marcus didn't expect. A market environment that fundamentally changes the game he's been playing. Volatility patterns shift. The setups that worked in 2014 to 2018 stop working with the same consistency. Algorithms have gotten faster. Spreads have tightened. The edge that once existed for retail day traders in certain patterns has been arbitraged away by institutional money and high-frequency trading. Marcus is good. He spent 6 years getting genuinely good, but good isn't enough when the environment changes. By year 7, Marcus makes a decision. He pulls back, trades less, starts moving some money into longer-term positions. It's the right decision, but it comes after 7 years and enormous time investment. Years 8 through 10, Marcus essentially transitions into something closer to swing trading. His results improve, his stress decreases, his life quality improves noticeably. End of year 10, Marcus's account sits at $22,800. On his original $10,000, he has grown it by $12,800. 128% return over 10 years. Sounds decent until you do the comparison. His after-tax real return accounting for 10 years of short-term capital gains taxes, closer to $19,500. And Marcus spent approximately 10,000 hours actively managing and trading over the decade. If you calculate his hourly return, he earned roughly $1.28 per hour for 10,000 hours of skilled, stressful, technically demanding work. Derek, the swing trader's true reckoning. Derek's last 5 years are his best. He simplified his system back down after the year 4 to 5 complication spiral, returns to basics, becomes more patient, more selective. Years 7 through 10 are genuinely good. He catches several major sector moves. His win rate stabilizes. He develops a real feel for market rhythm that only comes from years of screen time. End of year 10, Derek's account sits at $31,400. On his original $10,000, a 214% return over 10 years. Genuinely impressive. After taxes, accounting for his mix of short-term and long-term gains, real after-tax value closer to $27,000. Derek spent approximately 5,000 hours on his investments over the decade. His hourly return, approximately $3.40 per hour. Better than Marcus, meaningfully better, but for 5,000 hours of skilled, disciplined, mentally demanding work, James, the boring man, wins, and it isn't close. James keeps doing what James does. $300 a month, automatic, every single month for 10 years without exception. The market crashes in 2020. James's account drops 34% in 5 weeks. His friends call him, ask if he's selling. He says no. 6 months later, the market has fully recovered and then some. James never sold a single share. The market has a series of strong years from 2020 to 2024. James's index fund captures every single point of that growth because he's in it, fully invested, never on the sidelines trying to time re-entry. End of year 10, James has contributed $46,000 total over the decade. His account balance, $89,200. The market added $43,200 that James never worked for, never stressed about, never lost sleep over. After-tax situation. Since James held everything in a Roth IRA, his tax bill on all of that growth is exactly zero. Every dollar of that $43,200 in market gains is completely tax-free. Real after-tax account value, $89,200. James spent approximately 30 hours on his investments over 10 years. His hourly return, approximately $1,440 per hour. The final score scoreboard, the real numbers. Let's put it all on the table. After 10 years, starting with the same $10,000, Marcus, the day trader, account value $22,800 gross, $19,500 after tax. Hours invested, approximately 10,000. Hourly return, $1.28 per hour. Stress level, extremely high throughout. Life impact, significant. Relationships, sleep, daily mood, all affected. Derek, the swing trader, account value $31,400 gross, $27,000 after tax. Hours invested, approximately 5,000. Hourly return, $3.40 per hour. Stress level, moderate. Manageable, but consistently present. Life impact, moderate. Required ongoing attention and discipline. James, the index investor, account value $89,200. All of it after tax. Hours invested, approximately 30. Hourly return, $1,440 per hour. Stress level, essentially zero. Life impact, none. Automated, invisible, running in the background. James has $89,200. Derek has $27,000 after tax. Marcus has $19,500 after tax. James has 4.5 times more money than Derek. James has nearly 5 times more money than Marcus. And James did it in 30 hours while Marcus spent 10,000 hours getting there. Same starting capital, same 10 years. Dramatically different outcomes. Not because James was smarter, not because James got lucky, not because the market cooperated perfectly, because James chose the strategy that the evidence, 100 years of real market data, said was most likely to win for ordinary investors. And then he got out of his own way and let it work. Why smart people still choose Marcus's path? Here's a question that deserves an honest answer. If the evidence is this clear, if index investing consistently outperforms active trading for the vast majority of ordinary investors, why do so many intelligent, motivated people still choose to day trade or swing trade? 3 real reasons. Reason 1, the math of compounding is invisible. The excitement of trading is immediate. Watching your account grow 0.3% this month from index fund returns is genuinely unimpressive. Catching a stock that moves 8% in 2 days feels like discovering a superpower. Our brains are wired for immediate, visible, exciting feedback. Compounding is slow, invisible, and boring for years before it becomes extraordinary. Trading scratches an itch that index investing simply doesn't. Reason 2, survivorship bias is everywhere. The day trader who turned $5,000 into $340,000 has a YouTube channel, a Twitter following, and a course to sell you. The day trader who turned $5,000 into $900 and quietly went back to his regular job, you've never heard of him because he has nothing to sell and no reason to broadcast the outcome. You only see the winners. The losers disappear silently. Studies consistently show that somewhere between 70 and 80% of day traders lose money. Not break even, lose. But because only the winners are visible, the strategy looks more viable than the evidence actually supports. Reason 3, most people don't believe boring works until they've seen it work. James's strategy requires a kind of trust in a process whose payoff is years away. That trust is genuinely hard to maintain when the results feel invisible in the early years. Marcus and Derek at least feel like they're doing something, like they're actively participating in their financial future, like effort is being rewarded in real time. James feels like he's just waiting, and waiting feels dangerously close to doing nothing. But waiting, combined with consistent contributions and the discipline to never sell, is exactly what the math rewards most generously. The feeling is wrong, the math is right. Closing. Here's the truth I want you to carry out of this video. This is not an argument that Marcus and Derek are failures. Marcus is a skilled trader who generated real returns. Derek built genuine expertise over a decade. This is an argument about what the evidence says when you run the real numbers honestly. And the real numbers say this: for the vast majority of ordinary investors with regular jobs and regular lives and regular amounts of time and regular amounts of emotional tolerance for risk, active trading is not the optimal path to wealth. Not because it's impossible to profit, because the opportunity cost is enormous. The time, the stress, the taxes, the emotional weight, the years of learning curve eating into returns. When you add all of that up honestly, the boring option wins, consistently, historically, almost embarrassingly decisively. The most powerful investment strategy ever documented for ordinary people is the one that requires the least from you. Open the account, choose a total market index fund, automate your contributions, reinvest your dividends, never sell during crashes, and increase contributions whenever income grows. Then go live your life. Let the machine run. Let the compounding build. Let the boring do what the exciting almost never can. 10 years from today, the scoreboard will look exactly like the one we just showed you. The question is simply which
rich man you want to be when the decade ends.